What is up, everybody? My name is Dante Leesberg. I am a self-taught software developer. I taught myself how to code in 2020 and ultimately landed my first job in 2021. And I now work for a Fortune 500 company. So for those of you who have been coding for a while or building that business for a while and you're not sure what that next step looks like for you, or maybe that offer has not hit yet for you, go ahead and apply into my mentorship, and I'll link that in the description below. There I'll help you in a step-by-step process to build the projects, build the resume, build the resources you need to land that offer. So if this applies to you, make sure to apply. But without further ado, let's go right into the tutorial. Alright, so in this video, we're going to create the classic snake game. So pretty standard stuff here. You got your score here, your high score here, and your snake is going to move with the arrow keys. And every time you eat the apple is going to go into a different place, in a random place in the canvas. And you'll see here that our score is increasing, and you'll see that the snake is getting longer. You'll see that when the snake runs into its own body, there is a game over message here telling us we ate ourselves, and then we have to press enter to reset the game. So when we press enter, the game resets. Same thing happens if we hit a wall. So let's just run into the wall here. Same thing here. We'll get game over telling us that we hit the wall. So we get a reason why the game is over. We're always going to press enter to reset the game. And you'll see that our high score is 3 now instead of 0. So let's go ahead and build this thing. So first, I'm going to create my React app. So make sure you have Node Package Manager npm installed in your machine. And once you're able to install that, run the command npx create React app. And then you're going to name your app. And the name of that app is going to be Snake Game, because we're creating a snake game. So npx create - React app. And then we'll wait for all the dependencies to load. All right, now that we ran our npx create React app, we have our snake game created, all the React libraries and dependencies created. So let's cd into the new directory that we created. So cd snake game. And then we'll do npm starts. And then we'll have our live server running. We have our app running on a port 3000. So let's check that out. We should have the standard React components running. All right. So let's go ahead and delete the default code that comes in there. So everything in app.js between the div, let's remove that. And then let's go ahead and remove this class. And then we're not using this logo, let's remove that. And then all the content in app CSS, let's remove that. And then we'll have that blank white page. All right, so we have that blank white page. So let's create our first component. So this is gonna just be the root. So I'm just going to put the game state in here. This is going to have all the components that keeps track of the game, whether the game's over, all that kind of stuff. So let's create it. Let's create a component folder inside our source folder. And then let's create that game state component, gamestate.js. And next, make sure to export it so we can put it in the parent component. All right, so let's import it in our app.js. We got that imported. Let's go into it. And let's write our code for the game states. So I'm going to have the score in here. So let's use these two variables for the score. And I'm going to use the useState hook to keep track of the state of the score. I'm going to import it from React, and then of course it's going to be 0. Let's create variables for our high score. that should also, we're going to grab from local storage so using the local storage API, we're gonna get the high score key from within the browser in our local storage. If that's not present, we'll just set it to 0. So that's our initial state for a high score. Now let's do game over. Let's see if the game is over or not. So game over, set game over, use state. It's going to be false initially. And then we'll do the collision type. So send over that message whether it was a wall collision or a body collision, meaning you ate yourself. And for now, we'll just make that null, or we'll do an empty string because we don't have a message yet. And then let's create our JSX components. So let's return put a p tag where our score will go. And we'll put our score value there. And then we'll put another p tag for a high score. So that will hold our high score value in the UI. And then, so if game over is true, we'll render this component. We'll create a div giving us the game over message. And then we'll set that collision type message. So if the collision type was the wall, then we'll get that message, you hit the wall. Else we'll just do the you ate yourself, which means you ate yourself, you ate the body. And then we'll put that message to tell the user, please press enter to reset the game. Alright, but if the game is not over, then we'll have our game board present. So that will be our game pieces. So that will have all our snake and apple components, as well as the entire HTML canvas. All right, so let's create the game pieces. Components. So game pieces.js inside my components. Export it so we can share it in another component. All right, now let's import this game pieces into here. All right, save that. Let's just see what we have so far. So we have our score and then our high score, which is 3. Let me delete local storage here in the browser, as I have it previously, and that high score should go back to 0. All right, so we have our game state, basically keeps track of our score and keeps track if the game's over, and lets us know why the game is over. So let's go ahead and draw all the components in the game pieces. So So first, let's create a reference to our canvas. So that way we're going to use this to reference the height and width of the canvas, which is the game board. So we're going to use the useRef React hook. And that's not going to have a value in there. We're just going to use that so we can grab all the properties of the canvas. So let's create the canvas component. So that's what we're going to use to draw all of the game pieces. So let's add that in our JSX. So I'm going to have a div with my canvas using HTML canvas. And I'm going to give it, so that the ref attribute is the canvas ref that I created with the useRef hook. And then I'm going to give it a width of 750 and a height of 420. And let's go ahead and style it so we can see what it looks like. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see the boundaries. So let's give it a class name of game canvas. And let's go in and style it with our app CSS. Make sure your app CSS is imported in our root, which it is. So everything should take effect. So let's style that game canvas. Let me split this right so you guys can see what I'm doing. So we're going to style this component here by grabbing the class. Give it a background color. And then a border. Give it a solid border and then give it this little color. Alright, we save all this, we should be able to see the canvas outlined. So we have our game canvas here, so we're able to see the boundaries. All right, let's create the rest of our game pieces here. Let's go ahead and create a constant for our snake speed. This is how fast the snake is going to move. So we'll do about 10 frames per second approximately. And then let's create our state to draw our apple and our snake. So let's do the apple first. So the state I'm going to set it is the initial X and Y position of the apple. So the X position is going to be 180 and the Y position is going to be 100. And I'm going to do the same thing for the snake, but it's going to have 2 segments instead of 1. See, here's only 1 segment because the apple is going to stay the same size. Whereas the snake is going to continually grow as it eats more apples. So I'm going to give it 2 segments initially. So I'm going to give it an array of segments. So first one is going to be in the 100x and then the 50y position. Make sure to surround those in curly braces. And then the next segment is going to be 5 to the left, so 95, and it's going to be in the same Y position, so 50. And let me document that so you guys can see it better. So this is our X and Y for our snake and our apple. And then the direction the snake is going to move, let's do a state for that. So direction, set direction, we'll also use the useState for that. And it's just not going to be moving anywhere, so we'll just make it null when the page first renders. Alright, so let's save all that. Alright, so let me go review for those of you that don't know too much about HTML Canvas. So our width is 750, our height is 420, And position 0, 0 is at the corner here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So position 0, 0 is at the corner here. So it's going to go 0 all the way to the width, which I think what I said was 750. So it's going to be 0 to 150 is going to be 750 is going to be right here. And then Y. So normally in algebra, when you go down a y-axis, it's negative. But in programming, at least in HTML Canvas, when you go down, it's actually positive. So that's why 0, 0 is at the corner here. So it's going to go this way for the width and the height, which was 420. So it's going to go 0. And then all the way down here is 420. You guys can see my mouse here. But just FYI with HTML Canvas. So keep that in mind as we draw the components and move each component of the game. So let's use the use effect hook to render our game components and re-render our game components as well. So let's do use effect from React. All right, so first off, we're gonna add our canvas variable, and it's gonna be our canvas.ref.current. That way we can grab the properties of the canvas. So, and I'm going to make this canvas two-dimensional. So canvas.getContext, and I'm gonna make it two-dimensional with the 2D. It also supports 3D, but for this purposes, we're only going to do two-dimensional. So let me show you guys what canvas.current looks like. Just so you can, in the console. So y'all, just FYI, zoom back out. So canvas.current, or sorry, canvas.ref.current. So this basically we're grabbing the canvas in HTML, and you'll see we have the class, the width, and height. So this allows us to grab the properties of the canvas that we set it to. All right, so let's draw the snake. So the initial state of the snake, remember it's an array, and we have two segments, and we're gonna add more segments to it as we eat an apple. So that's why we initialize it as an array. So for each snake part, we're going to draw it. So this allows us to begin drawing our content in the canvas. So this 2D dimension allows us to have access to all these functions. And we're going to draw the rectangle. So we're going to do snake part X and Y to position it. So this is the X position, this is the Y position. And then the last two parameters are the width and height. So we're creating just a square. So we're just going to give it the same width and height. So in this case, I'm just going to give it 14. And then now I'm going to fill it. Using this hex code. This is the green that you guys saw in the demo. And I'm going to fill the two-dimensional canvas with these properties. And I'm going to close the drawing. So I can't add any more after this. Okay. Let's draw our apple. So we can't see the snake yet because we're not calling the function. So I'll show you guys what everything looks like when we're done. So same thing here, we're going to do the same pattern. We're going to begin the path, create a rectangle, and then instead of using snake part, we will use the apple properties. So the apple X, apple Y, same size, same width and height as the snake, 14, 14. And we'll make it red with different hex code. This is a red hex code. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and make them appear actually. So I'm going to have an interval so my frames stay the same whenever the snake starts moving. This is why I'm putting everything in intervals so everything stays in the same frame. Everything stays within the canvas. All right, so let's draw the snake and draw the apple. All right, so we should be able to see our components drawn on the canvas. So we have our green snake and our red apple. All right, and let's make it 100 milliseconds. So this interval is it should be very quick, so that way you can't see everything be redrawn. It should be quick, 100 milliseconds. And then let's clear our interval so everything gets redrawn. And then let's add some dependency arrays in our use effect hook. So the page is going to re-render whenever the snake grows or whenever it changes direction. We want our component to update every time the snake gets bigger and every time the direction of the snake changes. So that way the frames stay constant. That way when you move the arrow, you don't leave behind a segment or the snake starts moving off the board. All right, now that we drew our snake and our apple, let's go ahead and create logic to start moving the snake. So if we have direction, we're going to set the snake, we're going to change the state of the snake. So this is changing the position of the snake on the canvas. And the new snake is going to be a copy of the previous snake. And then we're going to create the snake head so we know which is the tail and which is the head. That way we know that the head, whenever the head collides to the apple, will eat it versus the tail hitting it. it's going to be the first index because that's going to be the first thing in line of the X and Y position. Alright, so let's format everything so it looks better, all spaced out. Alright, so let's create a for loop to make sure that we don't leave behind a segment whenever we start moving. So let's start at the back of the snake. And then we're going to make the first snake of I of the index X of the X position equal to the one before it. And we're going to do the same thing with the Y. So this is the logic. When the snake starts moving, we don't leave behind a segment. Like I said, the segment that's behind the snake will move along with the head. That's what we're doing with this logic. So we're doing it for the X and Y positions. So that's why we have two of them right here. So this is for the Y. Alright, so let's do the direction. Let's start moving the snake with this logic. So if I move right, then I want to take the snake head of X. So when I move to the right, I want to move it with the snake speed. Break. If we're going left, then I'm going to subtract the snake speed. So I'm going the opposite way. So instead of adding snake speed, I'm going to subtract snake speed. So minus equals. If I'm going up, then I'm going to, when I go up on the y-axis on a canvas, I'm actually going to subtract instead of going up. Because remember, 0, 0 is at that corner. So I'm going to subtract snake speed. And then going down, because we're at that 0, 0, because 0, 0 starts at the corner, going down, we're actually increasing. And if none of these match, we'll just break out of here. Alright, and we want to make sure that the beginning of our new snake is the snake head. So we know that the front of the snake is going to be the head. And we'll return the new snake. All right, so we have direction here. We're not setting the state yet. We're not setting it to another state. So let's create let's create that function with a handle key press here. So this is going to detect whenever we actually press the arrow keys on our keyboard. So we're going to pass in the event of pressing the key. And then event.key. So this is the proper name of each key. So arrow right. We're going to change the direction state to be right. So it matches these conditions here. And same thing, arrow left, we're gonna set the direction to left. Change the state of direction to left. And then if the key we press is the arrow down key, then we're going to go down. And obviously if none of these apply, we're just going to break out of here. So let's add an event listener to our window. And when we key down on the keyboard, we'll call this handle key press function. All right, so our snake should be able to move now. Let's test that out. Oh, sorry, actually I need to call the move snake in our interval here that keeps track of our frame. All right, now our snake should be able to move. Yep, we're able to move all directions, but we don't have any detection yet. And our snake goes off the canvas because there's no border set yet. All right, so let's do some collision checks now. So let's do the apple collision. So when the snake eats the apple, let's score some points and let's grow the snake. So I'm going to create the function down here. Whenever my snake is moving, I want to call that function. So handle apple collision. And then I'm going to pass in the new snake. And let's go ahead and create that function. So let's do some checks here. So if the snake head of X and the snake speed actually wait, sorry, I'm on the wrong function. Pass in snake head actually. So let's pass in snake head. Like I said, we want the head to touch the apple. So let's do some checks here. So if the apple position, the snake head position is X and the apple position is X, as well as the snake head of Y is in the same position as in the Y position of the apple. So that's when we're colliding. Whenever the head X and the head Y is in the same position of each axis as the apple, that's where we're going to increment our score. And then we're going to move our apple. So the x-axis of the apple, we're going to use the math.floor, math.random to generate the random number. So for the x is going to be left to right, so the canvas.width, so it stays within the canvas. I'm going to do a full math formula here. And we're going to divide that by the snake speed, so we can take the account of how fast the snake is moving whenever we're calculating the position of the snake and apple. And we're going to do the same thing for the Y position of the apple. But instead of dot width, it's going to be dot height. And then we're going to also make the snake bigger. So the X, so we're going to add it to the back of the snake. This is the X position. And then the Y. And actually, I need to actually put in the new snake in here altogether. I actually want to pass the new snake instead of snake head. And then I'm going to set, remember this is the head first position of the index. And the reason why I want to add this new snake here so I can actually go ahead and add it to the array. Alright, so our snake should be getting bigger now. I need to add some props here in our game pieces components. And let me add it to our game state here. Now I can add these props in here. So first one I'm going to add is a score, so the score can display. I'm going to set score to change the score. And then on game over. All right, so now that I have my on game over here, let me create this handle game over function. So the type, whether it was body or if I hit the wall, I'm going to set my game over to true. And when the game is over, I want to check if my score is higher than my high score. If it is, I'm going to set my high score to the new score. And then I'm going to add it to local storage. And I'm going to set my collision type to whatever type it was, whether it was, like I said, the wall or if you ate yourself. All right, let's go ahead and just reset the game. And go ahead and complete the game state component, and then we'll go back in and we'll fix the game pieces. So when I reset the game, I want my score to be 0, and then I'm going to set the game over back to false. So that will be the initial state of the game. And let's do a use effect here as well. Make sure we import use effect from React. This will help us listen for the enter key. So again, we're going to pass in an event, and that event is going to be the enter key. So if game over, and then the key we press is the enter key. And then we'll reset the game. So we'll set the score to 0, and then we'll set the game over to false. And make sure we add a method listener to the window so that this function gets called. Then we have an array dependency. So whenever the game is over, that's when our game state is going to update. So that's why we have this game over here in the dependency array for use effects. So remember, in a use effect, it takes in 2 arguments. First one is whatever you want to do whenever the page first renders, and then this dependency array will re-render the entire component whenever this changes. So if you guys worked with class components before, this is like using component did update. So let's go ahead and go back to our game pieces, and let's finish the rest of the game logic. So we were at the move snake, and we were at the handle apple collision. We came in and we made sure we moved the apple in random places whenever the snake and apple collide. We got the score, and then we're making the snake longer by 1 on the X and Y positions. So let's do the body collision. Actually, let's do the wall collision so our snake doesn't go off the canvas any longer. So let's create a function, handle wall collision. And we'll also pass in, again, our snake head is important here because that's what's ultimately going to run into everything. So I'll pass in that snake head. So let's do the walls on the side first, which is the width. remember, we want to take the snake, the x position of the snake, and then how fast it's going until it hits the wall. So this is gonna be left to right. So this one, if it's going right, this one, if it's going left. This last part right here. So we're gonna make this one 0. So 0 is back that way. And this is going to be our up and down. So snakehead.y plus how fast it's going. So this part, if it's going down, and then this one if it's going up. Remember, this on game over is what is being passed in to whatever type made it game over. So in this case, it's wall. So since it's wall, we're gonna get this "you hit the wall" message. So let's test that real quick. We also see that our score is going up. So you see we hit the wall message. Let's go this way. And we're also getting that message. I'll make sure let me press enter. So pressing enter works. So far so good. So so our wall collision works and our apple collision works. Let's do our body collision. So the new snake, remember, is the snake that we're creating. So let's create that body collision. So let's do a component to keep track of which part of the snake is the head. Again, the first part of the head, the first part of the snake is the head. So that's the first index, the 0 index. And we want to go to the second, the body is going to be the second index, which is 1. So this is why we're going to start on the first index in this loop. And then let's do our checks. So this is going to be our head. If our head hits hits any part of our body, so this new snake variable is our body. Remember, we're starting. This is the index. The first index is obviously, the second index is 1, which is the body. This first index 0 is the head. So if our head touches the body on the X position, or if the head of the Y position, and the Y position of the head touches the Y position of the body, then we're going to do that game over. This time it's going to be self. So let's save that. We should have a fully functional snake game now. Pass in that new snake. So we should have a fully functional snake game. So if we eat, let's get a high score of 2. Let's do a high score of 4 actually. Alright, and then let's eat ourselves. So yep, we ate ourselves. We got that correct message. Alright, so our game is fully functioning, but let's go ahead and make it look a little better. So let's go in our app CSS. We split this right. So we have our game canvas styled. Let's put our entire game into a container. This houses everything. Alright, so let's start our game state stuff here. So give our color this blue text. For our score, and then let's differentiate our high score. Give it that red color. And then font size, make it a little smaller. So that's not our main focus is our current score, not the high score. At least when I play, I like to just focus on the present. And let's do our game over. Let's give it game over text with this hex code. Give it a font size of 24. And then let's smooth it over so we don't overlap the scores in the game over messages. So let's move it down with margin top, 20 pixels. Let's put it in this entire div actually. So that way all this text here turns red and it's below the score. Alright, so let's see here. We should have the finished project. And you guys see that even when I slightly touch the apple, it doesn't give me a score. I have to hit it head on. So you have to hit it head on and then it will do it. So yeah, everything's working correctly. We have our classic snake game here. It's growing every time we eat the apple. It's detecting the wall collisions. And it's also detecting the body collisions. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see y'all in the next tutorial.